Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. My internet just died, so I thought what a better moment to start recording this again, because I tried recording this yesterday and it was a disaster because my mic had the gain up and I didn't notice, so there was like a lot of background sound and it was just not good. So I'm trying to record this again in a way more organized way because yesterday I was just rambling like crazy, and I hope this time it goes well. If you've seen the title, this video is about tracing, and I don't think I need to explain what tracing is. Most of us did it when we were younger, and we see people getting accused of it on social media all the time. There's tons of videos on this topic too, so I wasn't sure if it was something I wanted to cover when I got it in my suggestion box. Thanks to LazyPeach99 for the suggestion, by the way. I wanted to not only talk about why tracing can be a bad thing, but I also wanted to show you how it can have benefits for you as an artist if you're an artist. The truth is, tracing has a bad reputation with valid reasons, but it can also be a great learning tool if you're getting into art or if you've been doing it for years and are trying to learn something new. And later on you'll see I'll make a little demonstration and everything. So we have a long video, I think. I'm not sure. I think it's gonna be long, so just like sit tight and we're gonna get deep into this. Why tracing can be a bad thing to do. Simply put, tracing can be used for stealing art. This is nothing new on the internet these days. There's tons of people who trace other people's work and then post it as if it were their own. Sometimes they change details or color palettes to make it seem like it's something new, but most people can easily tell it's traced. Worst of all is when people trace work and then sell it as their own original work, their buyers have no idea that they're giving money to someone who stole the designs. People like Nat6969 on DeviantArt, for example, have been doing this for years, like I think over 10 years, among other terrible things she has done. And she has even admitted to tracing. As far as I can see, she has been banned from most platforms like DeviantArt. I know a lot of people were trying to get her banned, but it wouldn't surprise me if she just popped up again under a different name, like another artist, Blue Potion Co., who got called out for tracing the designs that she sold on her Etsy. Sorry, she didn't trace, she heavily referenced and unintentionally stole, whatever that means. After getting banned from Etsy and blocking almost everyone on Twitter, no lie, there was like a whole thread of people just saying like, are you banned by Blue Potion Co? And then you went to check and you were banned. I was banned. So, almost everyone got banned, I feel. She kept resurfacing on other platforms with other names, like on eBay, selling her traced art pieces, which just shows her apologies were lies and everything was very intentional. There is so much wrong with what they're doing. It's plain stealing from hardworking creators. This also gives a bad reputation to digital artists, like people need more excuses to call digital art not real art. While the things this woman and countless other people on the internet are doing is wrong, there's one way you can use tracing in a good way. Now, how can you learn from tracing? Tracing can actually be a really good tool for learning, as I've mentioned before. It's actually how I learned to draw. I've always been into art and drawing, but for the longest time, I didn't actually see it as something you could learn and pick up techniques to get better. I think I didn't start taking quote-unquote learning how to draw seriously until I was around 13 years old. This was the early 2000s and things were not as easy as they are today. You didn't have art tutorials on YouTube or TikTok. You had a couple of blogs that kind of gave you instructions and very expensive how to draw manga books, which I still have a few. Now, I don't want to completely diss how to draw manga books because I actually learned how to use a skeleton and face separations from one of those books, but on the whole, they were not very helpful for me. What was actually very helpful for me was secretly printing pictures from animewallpapers.com. Does that page still exist, I wonder? Draft setting on the printer, by the way, so it wouldn't waste too much ink and nobody would notice. And then tracing them. It helped me see how anatomy worked, how to draw correct face proportions, among other things. That wasn't all I did though. Just tracing isn't enough to learn. You have to do more. Using reference from magazines or other things I saw on the internet, I would take the things I learned from those tracings and try to recreate them on my own. It wasn't easy and it wasn't perfect. But I was self-taught for years, and I still kind of consider myself self-taught because although I went to school for graphic design, my drawing classes weren't always the best, and most of how I work now, I learned on my own. This was in most part how I learned. This technique isn't only for people who are learning how to draw. Even professional artists or artists that have been drawing for years can use this technique too. There's always more to learn. For example, I'm going to show you now how I use the tracing technique to learn how to draw in a style I've never been really good at. I thought the best way to show you this was by actually doing it. So we're taking a break from the speed paint for a bit and going to a blank canvas. I'll leave this to future cams. Thank you, past cams. So here we have a canvas, and this is my friend Kia's drawing. I asked her for permission if I could use it, and she said yes. And please follow her on Instagram. She does amazing art and beautiful backgrounds and just a lot of good stuff. So I totally recommend following her. But she let me use one of her drawings, and I chose this little doodle of Butters because I think it's perfect for what we're doing today. It's very simple, so it won't take too long, hopefully. And basically how I start this is, the reason I chose this one also is because I've always liked how Kian does chibis. She does smaller chibis than this too, but this kind I really like. It's very nice, very simple, just how I've always wanted to draw them, but I've never been good at it. So I thought, you know, maybe I can learn something while I do this video too. So I chose this one because I think it's just like the perfect little skeleton for learning this kind of anatomy. Okay, so I have her drawing here, and I have permission to do this, but I don't think you necessarily have to ask for permission as long as you don't go around posting it and taking credit. But I don't know, maybe some people feel differently. But the first thing I do is I lower the opacity of it, and then on a different layer I start to deconstruct it in simple shapes. So the head, for example, is a circle. So I draw a circle, and then the neck is a rectangle, and then from that I can start like just deconstructing it in shapes. Then I also like to, well, since this is facing front, I'm gonna draw a line in the middle just so I can see that. Well, that was a terrible line in the middle, but I tried, and that's what matters. And then I'm gonna see where she puts the facial features, like this. And then she puts the ears right here. Very cute. See, now I have like a very deconstructed version of how this anatomy is. Now you can deconstruct it even further. I know some people, like doing lines instead of shapes. For example, something very simple like this. Something simple like this, and then they would do these steps, like they do 2 steps. I generally don't need like such a simple one. Something like this works for me, but like if the other one starts you better, then just do what makes you feel more comfortable. And then finally, once I have this, I'll move it to the side like so, and then next to it I'll try doing it myself without having to trace. I'm gonna speed up all of this because I know it can take forever if I'm just drawing it. Now, if it helps, you can also do lines from yours to theirs to just kind of keep the proportions. Not necessarily, but it helps sometimes, especially if you're just starting to learn. Something like that. I usually would take more time, but I'm trying to be as fast as possible. So that's a little crooked, isn't it? That's fine. I'm trying to be as fast as possible, so this doesn't take forever, because the original video is already 10 minutes long. Then I'm just gonna try to draw on top of it and just see how I like it. Okay, so not my best work, but as I said, I'm not good at this, but as you can see, I made it myself and it's not as good as hers. And obviously maybe if I put more time into it, it would have looked a lot better. But this is what I mean, this is what you can do. And you can start like this and then I start applying this little skeleton you did in the beginning, or I did in the beginning, into different work, or just keep practicing. Like I just drew this one. Maybe if I drew it like 20 times, I would get it in my head, you know? But I hope this helped you understand what I mean by tracing. It doesn't mean I'm gonna exactly copy hers, and I would never like just grab this little guy here and post it and say, oh look, I made it. I would never do that because I didn't make it. I was just, well, I made it, but I made it based on a tracing of something from my friend. So I would never post them, and I would never like line art it and color it or anything like that unless I'm practicing line art or coloring. But yeah, this won't, hope this helped anyone. Yeah, that's it. Let's go back to past cams. Before I end this video, I wanted to talk about something that I feel a lot of people are unfamiliar with. Maybe because a lot of artists these days are self-taught, or because there's this whole culture of referencing is wrong. This is something I actually learned from one of those how to draw manga books I mentioned before. And later in life, I learned that it's a technique used in other forms of art by professionals. Tracing backgrounds from photography is kind of an industry standard. Tons of professional artists do it, and it's a very common technique seen in mangas. Now, this doesn't mean I'm gonna Google a background I like and trace it. No, that's not how it works. Photography is a copyrighted art form as well, and unless you have explicit permission from photographers, you shouldn't trace their photographs. What you can do, how this technique is usually used professionally, is by taking your own pictures. There is no shame in taking pictures of a scenery you like and tracing over it. As I mentioned before, it is an industry standard in mangas and other forms of art. It saves a ton of time when you have deadlines that are so close together as it is normally in the manga world. So if you struggle with backgrounds, you can try this technique. If you're not good at taking pictures, like I'm not good at taking pictures, maybe do a little research and find photographers who won't mind you using their work, or maybe paying them for the use of it. Anyways, I hope this video was useful for all you artists out there, and that maybe you learned something new. I would love to hear your opinions on this subject, since I know there's tons of different perspectives about it out there. And I'll see you next time. Bye.